So I'm going to start recording. Recording is in progress. And so I'm Susan Richmond. I'm on the board of directors of the Pennsylvania Homeschoolers Accreditation Agency. My co-leader is Audrey Johnson. Can you wave over?
Hello, hello.
Audrey's on our board also. And we have some other board members here tonight. And then we have, we're glad to see all the participants showing up here now. So this is great. So we're going to be talking tonight about financial aid for college and thinking about funding for college. And I think it's a really, really important topic. And we do have a handout, which I'm going to repost.
It's still at the top of the, it's still at the top of the chat.
I think new people probably can't see it. Is that
correct?
Okay. I think that's probably correct. I'm going to post it again.
Okay.
Okay, we do have a little handout so that you can, so save that to your computer or your phone.
And print, yes, please do.
And, you know, for future reference, because there are a lot of handouts within the handout that I hope you will find helpful. I think one of our emphases is that as homeschoolers, we, in a sense, working with evaluators and with other people, we need to be our own guidance counselors for our kids in this endeavor. You know, we're not going to have things automatically handed to us. So, you know, use the links that we provide on the handout for future reference. We're not going to be able to look through every detail of the handout. But we'd like to find out first just who's attending. So if you could just share, you know, if we could go around and you could share, you know, if you're a parent, if you're an evaluator, if we have any students here, what age or grade level your students are. And I'd also like to know if anyone here has already had any experience in applying for financial aid or paying for college by some hook or crook or trade school. We're not just talking about four-year college degrees here, but paying for some sort of further education beyond your homeschooling years. I considered asking people, like, if you could share if you've paid off your own student loans at this point in your life, but I won't ask that. But
so also the question is, maybe you have older students and this is not your first child, and that's how you've been through before.
Right.
Maybe you recently went to school and that's how you've been through before. So it doesn't really matter how you've been through it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, your sister went through it. And so, you know, so.
So I'll just start out briefly. I have 4 kids. They've all gone to college. They all graduated, and none of them have any student debt. And that was a real blessing, and kind of unusual. 2 of them did take out loans, and 2 of them got full ride scholarships, which was very nice. And so why don't we go around, maybe Bonnie, you could introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Bonnie Gonzalez. I am a board member. I had 3 children that went to college. 1 got a full ride and the other 2 ended up having student loans, and they've all paid off their loans, thank goodness. But I can remember just FAFSA sharing. I can remember days of filling out the FAFSA and just kind of ripping my hair out, spending an entire weekend trying to do it. Yes, because it was so difficult to do, and you had to collect all of the information that you ever had in your life about your income. And that was the old days of FAFSA. I think things are a little bit easier now. But yeah, it was not. Yes, it was not an easy process. But fortunately, none of my kids still have debt. But yeah, I can imagine now it's even worse as far as debt is concerned. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Audrey, do you want to
There, yes, I'm Audrey Johnson. We homeschooled our 3. I'm sure mine are younger than Bonnie's and Susan. So 1 went to school with no loans, you know, it was all scholarships and different things, and the balance that we could pay, but a lot of financial aid because of his SAT scores. And then the next 2 did have loans, but again, they're younger, they're in their young 20s, and so they are still working on paying them off. For myself, back in the day,
Mhm.
I went into special ed, and at that point, I don't know what the law is now, but my teaching placement forfeited me repaying the little bit of loans that I had.
Mhm.
So that's where we are. And it was much different when my daughter applied to school in 2018. It was like a 5-year gap between her and her sister than her older two. Just a little bit different. But again, we managed just fine, you know, 'cause we kept track of everything.
Okay, thank you. Emily, do you want to introduce yourself and your situation?
Sure. So I am a mom. I have 3. I only have 1 left in school. And so he's the one that we're really looking for. My other 2 did not do college. They did trade things. And
Mhm.
so he's the first one to actually want to go to college. Right now we're just paying for classes as he's dual enrolling. I was just getting ready to start this process when Tim sent that email out. So I was like, I'm not even going to start. I'm going to wait so that I kind of get a little bit more information. We have started looking at some scholarships. He works for Chick-fil-A. And so we just completed that scholarship.
Great.
So we're kind of looking to go both routes as he tries to do it, hopefully we're trying to do it without getting a loan. That's our goal. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. And let's see, Tim and your wife, I can't remember your wife's name. If you want to share about your family?
Sure. We've got a couple kids. Well, I guess more than a couple.
Yeah.
Our oldest is we're trying to make sure she doesn't graduate this year, which is another story. Make sure we don't hit the state qualifications. But she'll be graduating next year. So it's just worth understanding what we should be doing in preparation for that.
Great, great. And do you have anything to add to that, Mrs. Lytle?
I remember filling out the FAFSA when I was in high school at the end of my college career. We didn't, my parents they didn't make a lot of money, but it didn't like let me qualify for anything. But, you know, I guess one thing I learned from my college experience, keep filling out scholarships because you may get it down the line, even in college. And the last year and a half of mine was paid for all the way. And that allowed me to put a down payment on our first home. So keep filling out scholarships.
Well, you're all already making some of the key points that Audrey and I wanted to bring up tonight. Let's see, do any of the other participants who don't have their screens open?
Michael Ramsey. Who do we have behind the screen of Michael Ramsey?
Michael Ramsey?
Parent, student. Do you see Michael Ramsey? Oh, I see. Oh,
yeah. Sorry. Parent, 6 kids, 1 in school, others TBD.
Okay,
one in college.
Yeah, 1 in college, sorry, and others.
So do you have one that's a rising senior as well? Or you're just trying to find out what you can do to help the one in college continue to receive financial aid? What's your vantage point for us?
Just looking for new information, other scholarship information, just anything that I don't already know, since all processes associated with this are so complicated that it's a new form of fumbling every year.
What year are they in, Mr. Michael?
Gwendolyn is a junior, and I have is in college, and I have 2 in high school, a junior and a freshman. Yeah. And
how about Nancy? And then others along the way, they're going to follow the trail. How about Nancy?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have 2 children. One is a junior and the other is in middle school. So I have never done any of these forms. And to be honest with you, it does not sound fun at all. And it is fun looking at colleges. So we've been having a high old time looking at colleges, but we've got to get to the point that we're getting serious about how we're going to qualify those schools as far as what we're going to be able to pay. And I think scholarships, I'm really fortunate. I have a good test taker daughter, so we're kind of hoping for scholarships. But what's surprising me, and some type of merit aid, But what's surprising me is how little merit aid, it's more need-based. It's just interesting. I don't even know if I understand all the terms yet, but I also am surprised that I think there are a lot of scholarships, but if you have a student that's working really hard, and I would love to hear throughout the evening comments on this, my daughter's so busy working hard in school, finding the time to work on scholarships. That's like a part-time job, I feel
It
like.
is. Yes, it
And-
is.
And I struggle with that because she's doing all dual enrollment and AP, and she's working hard. And so I don't want to put another level of stress on her, but I certainly think if she could put the time and energy, it all comes at the same time. She's doing PSATs, then it's SATs. There's so many things. So one of my goals tonight is to even understand how to prioritize
Mhm.
our pursuits for that.
Okay. Good.
These are also
Lies.
important points.
Lizar, am I saying it pronounced correctly? Student, parent, dad?
I'm Liza McDaniel. I don't know why it's showing up as Lizar.
Okay.
I am new to homeschooling and I have 5 children, 2 high schoolers, and 1 is a senior about to graduate. And he's applied for colleges. He received back his merit scholarship information. This is our first time going through this. It all seems very intimidating to me, and we really want to get it right and not miss anything and do the best we can to help him. When I graduated, I had student debt that I had to pay off for the first, 10 years of our marriage. And I think, boy, wouldn't that be amazing if he didn't have that? So, just trying to do our due diligence as parents, do the best we can. But it is it seems very intimidating to me. So when I saw this email, just like the other mom, I was just really excited and also excited my night was free. And I am just really excited to hear everything you have to say.
Mhm. Very good. All right, Jennifer? Mom? Student?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we
Okay, good.
can.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm a mom. We have 3 kids, and our oldest is a senior, and then we have a 10th grader and a 3rd grader. And yeah, so this is a first for us.
Okay, has high school senior already applied to college? Or they're going to trade school, or would they like to go to work? What would they like to do?
Probably studying violin.
Studying violin, okay.
Yes.
All right, so music schools and specialty schools are a whole nother ball of wax.
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right, Kayla? Mom,
I think
student?
Kayla wrote in the chat that she'd prefer not sharing something.
Oh, okay, I didn't see
She's a
that,
mom.
okay. The
And
Hutchinsons?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan. I am the poor substitute for my wife who wasn't able to attend tonight. We have two students, both homeschooled all the way through. One is a junior in college and the other is currently a senior. The junior did fine. We're in the position where, having been good stewards of money, the FAFSA does us nothing. So absolutely nothing. But managed to set aside some for both of them. The first one's doing fine and we'll get through. Trying to make sure number 2 has that same opportunity, as he's pretty concerned about finding a school that he can get enough merit-based aid to put together with what we've saved for him to get through without debt.
Okay, so a little aside here, Susan, it looks like next year the Hutchinsons and Mr. Daniel, who thinks he's a poor substitute, he's doing a financial aid session for all the parents who want to know how he did it. 'Cause I know some of the other moms are going, that sounds awesome, that's amazing. So I mean.
We'll start early.
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
So where do we want to start, Susan?
And who
Got the
do we,
introductions.
do we get everybody who wanted to
Yes.
share? Okay, so, I really appreciate all of the input everyone gave and shared about their own experiences. And we did can everybody see, maybe you can give me a little hands up, if you can see the link to the handout and open that up? Okay, Emily can, because she got here early, and I have posted it there, but there might have been some of you, I'm gonna paste it again. So do save this. And we'll also be posting this on the FAA website, so you can have it. It does have a lot of links on it to helpful information. And we're going to be sharing some of those here. I think, Audrey, I'm kind of wanting to go down to our helpful tips before we start sharing some of these links. What do you think?
First, okay, sure. So do you want me to do those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can start with those. Yeah. So the number 12 says great sources are local. So what I meant by that, who do you know and what do you know? For example, my children applied for a scholarship, which is run by an organization literally down the street called Concerned Black Men. And it was a local scholarship and a local award ceremony that worked for the older two. By the time the younger one came along, they weren't doing it anymore. But it was a local organization and you submitted the application. So who do you know? What do your children know? Instead of, I know there are books out there, and I took them out the library. I know about all these great scholarships, and the McDonald Scholarship and this scholarship and then that scholarship. And you'll go to, and I'm not negating FAFS Web and some of the other websites that are out there, but we found that those were kind of the big picture. And I learned from my son, he applied for some of those big ones, but when it came down to it, the money he received was from the local ones. And that's the first thing you should think about. Who do you know? What do you know? American Legion. My children did American Legion competitions all through high school, and we stockpiled that money away for college. So that's number one. Who do you know? And what do you know? Susan, did you want to add something for that?
Yeah, just one of the moms mentioned, I forget who it was now, maybe it was Emily, that her son works for Chick-fil-A and found out that they've got a scholarship. That's a perfect example. Something that you're involved with, or your kids are involved with, that offers a scholarship. And what many people, if you read those descriptions of, $6 billion goes unclaimed in college scholarships, they're often talking about these local scholarships that, they were offering money, nobody applied. Nobody qualified to apply. And so that really, it can seem like a lot of work. I know the other mom who mentioned, they felt torn because they didn't want to impose more work on top of dual enrollment and AP courses on a overworked or a hardworking student, to now say, and now you'll have a part-time job of applying for scholarships. But if you think of it in terms of, okay, I'm going to have to put, maybe 3 hours of work in here, but there's a pretty good chance I might get a good return, and I might get $500 for 3 hours of work. $500 is pretty good. And and you have to sort of balance it out, or carve out time in your schedule. Okay, on the weekends, we're going to work on this. And I do know from students that I've evaluated, because I'm an evaluator with FAA, that I know many students who basically got a full ride to college by compiling a whole bunch of little local scholarships. That was how they did it. They didn't get the big national scholarships. They might have applied to a couple of those, but that's so chancy to get those. 5 kids get it out of 50,000 applying.
Right.
But for the local ones, this kid was just raking them in, and his brother did the same thing. And the other way to think locally, and this is actually, I think, one of our other points, number 16, is that look at colleges that are going to be generous. Look at, and maybe a local college that's going to be trying to attract students. And one way the colleges are going to attract good students is by offering merit aid. Harvard does not need to offer merit aid. They don't need to attract good students. They have bazillion good students, great students already applying. But your local state-related university does need to attract good students. And the way they do it is by offering merit scholarships. So don't discount those. That I think people need to really think with their family, with their students. They need to discuss the financial aid aspect of it, or the finances of this with their kids early on, so the kids don't get.
Yeah, that's
wedded to the
kind of
idea-
number 8. That's number 18.
Number 18.
Yes.
to-
Yeah, I've been to workshops, well, open houses where I sat behind a dad who, pardon all the dads that are here, but I'm sure this dad slept on the couch that night because he was literally in plain verbal conversation, bribing his daughter because they were at a Philadelphia school and they lived in another state, I won't mention the state, and he promised her, if you go to school at home, I'll buy you a car. But she had her heart set on this university in Pennsylvania. And the conversation was known to everyone there. So have that financial aid talk before making your list. Back to number 13, be very aware of deadlines. Submit your applications in advance. That's something I did learn from reading a lot of these books, that what happens with these local applications is students are late. And then you think, well, no big deal. It was due the 12th. I'll turn it in on the 13th, or, you know, it doesn't work like that. And so you want to be aware of deadlines. So we would set up schedules with my middle daughter, who's a fashion designer. Since she's so visual, my son set up Google Docs on the computer. My daughter set up, we had charts. So the big charts in the dining room, okay, this college, this scholarship, so that it was plain to see what was due when. And we attached essays to English. So again, if they were doing an outside English class like my son did, there was still like the extra of, okay, well, we still need this essay for this. And so that was important. Find colleges that are generous. Let me go through 17. These are examples that I provided. And then Susan will talk about 14. But in 17, I wrote, when you're offered a financial aid package, I believe someone has said they have the financial aid package already, and you don't like it, you can submit what's called a financial aid appeal letter. And places like College Board can tell you how to do that. And you ask them to review, you know, maybe your circumstances have changed since you applied to college. You know, maybe, you know, mom or dad has less income, or you have more expenses, or you just don't like what they're offering you, you know. So example 1, this is one student, my youngest. After we submitted the financial aid appeal letter to 3 prospective schools, we had narrowed it down. School number 1 says, sorry, nope, no more money to give you. School number 2 said, here's $2,000. School number 3 gave her the best resolution to the financial aid package, and that's the school she attended. Yeah. So it was like, you know, again, the children, you know, were 19, shouldn't have their 18, their heart set on any one school. Example 2, school 1 wants you to borrow. This is my middle daughter. What school 2 is giving you in grants and scholarship, literally $40,000. It was 2 schools. I will leave them nameless. Wanted her to borrow $40,000. That was the dollar amount. I don't think I said that, but I can say that. And the school she attended gave her that much money in grants and scholarships. And then the third example is the school number 1 has a large amount of loans in their financial aid package. So it looks like it's a great fit, because at the bottom it says that you'll owe 0. Well, you owe 0 today, but over the years, you're going to have $40,000 in debt. Whereas school 2 has large amounts of grants and scholarships in their packages. So just when you get the financial aid package, you have to, you know, get some help. You know, maybe your evaluator can help you. You review that package or find someone who can. So that's 16 and 17. Kind of hit on 15 already. Be mindful of packages where they want you to borrow a significant amount. Maybe Susan could talk about 14, because she talked about that with her children. Right. Borrowing. Having lots of money in advance is great, but sometimes paying your own way is just as great.
Okay, yeah. Again, we had 4 kids, and 2 of them got a full ride to the University of Pittsburgh. And so that was really nice. But 2 of them did not. You know, one went to Carnegie Mellon, and they do not have very good financial aid, or at least not at the time when he went. And he took out loans. We never needed to take out loans, fortunately. And then my younger daughter went to Brandeis University in Massachusetts, my only one who went out of state. And You know, she got some merit scholarships, but still it was a pricey school, so it was more expensive. But a very interesting thing developed from this. So can you guess, of my 2 kids who got the full ride, do you think they ever got a part-time job during their college years? Never. Why would they? They didn't have to pay for college. And in a sense, they didn't want to work because they didn't want to take away from staying in good standing with their scholarship. You know, you had to do well in your courses. They had no incentive whatsoever to get a job related to the field they wanted to go into. They never did. And that was fine. They didn't need a job. But my 2 that did not get those full ride scholarships, they worked their pants off. One of them was majoring in computer science. He made sure that every summer he had a computer science internship. You know, he was working in the field and getting paid for that. And towards the end, the last 2 years, he had part-time work in the city that he kept up while going to school in computer science. And he got so much experience that he instantly got a great job with Microsoft the minute he graduated. That I don't think he would have gotten had he not had those internships and those, you know, year-long jobs. And he felt dedicated to doing that because he did not want to have a lot of loans to pay off. And it helped him get his job. And I'm sure he did pay off his loans within a couple of years. My 4th one, who went to Brandeis, there was a lot of family arguing about should she go to Brandeis or should she go to the University of Pittsburgh. And my husband felt she should go to the University of Pittsburgh, in part because she would already have a job teaching Hebrew at our synagogue, which is just right nearby. That would have paid her like $17 an hour, which at the time, she's now like 36. At that time, that was a pretty good hourly wage for a kid. And they would have been very happy to continue her working at our synagogue. So my husband thought that was where she should go, and she can work part-time and she can maybe live with her grandparents in the city, that sort of thing, to save some money. But she wanted to go to Brandeis. And there was all she needed to hear was that she wouldn't be able to get a decent job in Boston because who would know her there? She was actually in Israel at the time, and she took the initiative to contact synagogues that all hire Hebrew teachers to find out, did they need any Hebrew teachers for next year? She might be coming to Brandeis. They immediately got back to her. One was offering her $38 an hour, and the other was offering her $35 an hour. And she took one of those jobs, worked at that synagogue teaching Hebrew all through college on the weekends. And, you know, so it was like a Sunday morning job. It didn't really interfere with her life. And she made very good money. And she now works at a synagogue in the Boston area. I mean, what she did as part-time work led directly into what she's doing now as an adult, and gave her lots of contacts in the field. And again, if she hadn't done that and she graduated with a, you know, liberal arts degree, she might not have gotten the position that she has now, that she really enjoys. Welcome
Wonderful.
the new people that are just coming in. Thank you.
Okay. So number 19 is next. Start at a community college. One of the seminars that we took my son to, or my daughters, was a Temple University. I'm in Philadelphia. I'm sorry, Community College of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia has a feeder program that you can start there and end up at almost a dozen different colleges, maybe more by now. I mean, he's 31. So this was, you know, many years ago when he's 17, looking at colleges. Now, so you could start there. Again, this is called about financial aid, which is cheaper. And then, but you have if they still want to graduate from a 4-year school, it's not like, oh, ma, I don't want to go to community colleges of Monroe County, or oh, ma, I don't want to go to community college of, Montgomery County Community College, or Bucks County Community College. But again, I have a client who that's where her son started, Bucks County Community College. And I'm sure by now he's transferred to, I would imagine that Bucks County and Montgomery County, they also have feeder programs because they're just a 2-year school. So they want you to move on. So that's number 19. So Susan, do you want to go back up to the resources now? Anyone have any questions about helpful tips? Number 20 is for you to look at on your own. But does anyone have any questions about 12 through 19? Any questions? I do have a comment about for Nancy, and hopefully we'll get to it when we get to the FAFSA checklist, is I wrote down, and this could be for everyone, make yourself a timeline. Like I mentioned, the charts we have in the dining room. So whatever works, if you need to be visual and hanging on the wall, if it needs to be a spreadsheet, if it needs to be a paper calendar book, so that her AP classes, or whoever had AP classes and her PSATs don't conflict, and you're asking her to write an essay the day before she's taking her PSAT, because I would flip out too. So, and again, this is, I don't know if you use lesson books or whatever you're using to plan out their lessons, but so that there's PSAT studying time, there's AP history time, there's math time, but there's essay time, and there's, filling out the Common App time.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? I know Bonnie wants you to put them in the chat. So I guess we can go back up to the links. Do you want to open the links, Susan, directly?
Okay.
The first one is the PHAA website. Can we see by a show of hands any parent who has, when Susan brings up the PHAA website, if you can tell us if you've gone to this yet, or is this all new and scary, hairy for us, for you guys? What let you?
Wrong screen. Hold out. Okay. Is that
we can see it?
You can see it now. Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyone's hands raised? Has anyone gone to any of these sites yet? I mean, those of you that have seniors, the PHAA, have you had a chance to?
Okay. So a lot of these sites are kind of, they're related, they in a sense connect with one another. But the first one, let's open this. This is the PHAA website, not to be confused with the FAA website. Let's open it. Here we go. Okay, can you see this? PHEAA stands for the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency. And this is an organization that organizes the Pennsylvania State Grant Program. And anything that says grant, that's money for college or trade school that you do not pay back. So they administer the state grant program, which is needs-based. You have to qualify by not having saved a lot of money, like the dad who mentioned that they managed their money so well that the FAFSA and PHEAA did not help them at all. That's what he meant. If it's one of those ironic things that if you really manage your money well, they're going to say, oh, okay, you don't need any money. If you don't manage your money well, they'll say, oh, yeah, you need a lot of money. In fact, we've got a lot of loans for you, too, in addition to this little state grant. But again, this will give you information about the state grant. And they also hook in with the FAFSA. And the FAFSA, one thing to know about is, and I'm going to go back here. It is that last year they did a major, they tried to fix it. They tried to make it much better. But as you can imagine, with something that's huge and a huge website that has to work with all these moving parts, it was a real fiasco last year. I don't know if anyone here had problems with that, but it was a real nightmare. They tried to take it down from like 140 questions that you would have to answer to maybe 18 questions. So they were trying to simplify things. It was a good goal. And they were kind of told they had to simplify it. It hadn't been changed in a number of years, but it had all sorts of problems, and kids were really late on getting their financial aid information from the federal government, and therefore from the state government, and therefore from colleges. Everything was really delayed, and it was a nightmare. They have been charged with fixing those problems that will be seen. Last year, they tried to bring it out on October 1st and have it available. This year, they're being more honest and saying, okay, we think we'll have it out definitely, maybe by December 1st, okay? So if you are applying to college this year, you're not late on filing the FAFSA. It's not available yet. It will be available December 1st at the earliest time. And there will be a few selected, a couple of thousand people who will be invited to try out the beta version starting in October, but that's just going to be a small subset of people trying it out, and they probably will find lots of problems. So you can just wait on that. Let me get back here to go over to the real FAFSA website. Hold up. Can you see this page of FAFSA checklist, or are we still over on the other?
No, you're still on the other one.
The other
We
one,
share the
okay.
screen.
Okay. Let me stop sharing that.
So the next one she's bringing up is number 4, the FAFSA checklist, and you should definitely print this.
Mm-hmm.
And what she's talking about, back in the day, we had to hand put our numbers in of our income. So with my daughter, who's now 24, at this point, and again, some people are not comfortable with this, so you have to decide what your comfort level is, but I'm not sure you could change it. Because again, she applied to college in 2018, it's now 2024. So I don't know what the new changes are, but when she applied and you got to the point where it asked for, what's your income, what's your husband's income, there's a little button where have you filed your 1040? And so if we're applying in, say, January, early, and then you could check the box and it will take a pause and it'll import your data. Now, again, you please check the current rules, because again, my daughter, Susan's children are older, it's different. And I guess Susan and I will put it on ourselves to find out the answers to these questions we're about to put out there. Well, my daughter applied, so if she's applying for fall of 2025, the income it wants from mom and dad is income from 23. So I won't say obviously, but they're assuming at fall of 2024, your income of 23 has already been established. So I can check the box to say, yes, I've done my 2023 taxes. And they've connected the sites, and then you'll get an official, it's not fraud, it's not crazy, it's not, they're doing it legally. You will get a letter from the IRS saying, asked for this, we're letting you know that we did it. Okay, so it's all official and above board. It's but again, the income year they want, Susan will have to find out what the new. Is it still the year before?
Yeah, it's the latest.
The latest income
40 that you filed, the latest
okay
income tax that you filed.
Okay,
that's what they want.
Right, so that's what I thought. Yeah. Okay, so that is correct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so
And
yeah,
here it is right there in the little box. Note, if you complete your FAFSA online, you will automatically retrieve your income and tax data from the Internal Revenue Service and have it transferred into your FAFSA. That's what I just said. Yeah. The Federal Aid Direct Data Exchange is a preferred method. That's how they would rather you do it. So I don't even know if you have the option to say, I'm not letting them do that. You know, I'm going to write it in myself. Well, that might take longer. If they tell you this is what they want you to do, just do what they want you to do. I
Yeah.
know I have a parent who's like, I'm not letting them do that, you know, so
yeah.
I don't know how their college application process is going to go. Do you want to scroll down a little bit? Any more questions?
And let me check the chat.
Oh, we have a question that we didn't put in here. Oh, we didn't add the CSS profile. So the
Yeah,
CSS
yeah.
profile is often used by, this is for Nancy, places like, say, Princeton, you know, the private colleges, Cornell, you know, Temple is, do not quote me, Temple is probably not going to use the CSS profile. Okay, in 2018, they did not, because my daughter applied there. It's 2024. Does Temple require the CSS profile? That's where the financial aid package page is going to let you know. So you do have to do both. Nancy says many of the colleges we visited request. One school said they expect more schools to add CSS. Right, yeah, so that could be an issue that now this is 2024, schools saying, you know what, CSS profile's been around for a while. We're using that since the FAFSA is having a problem. And the CSS is very much more detailed than the FAFSA, so just get ready for a longer ride. It's not the short line, it's going to be the longer line, even though FAFSA is trying to make it the short ride. CSS is going to be a more detailed application. Now, I will mention when someone says they're visiting colleges, we don't have it on here because it really has to do with college visiting, but it's really the same when you're, because I talked to a parent last week about this. When you're going to visit school X, you're setting up the school tour, you're setting up visiting financial aid. And I'll just stop right there because it's a whole nother conversation about visiting colleges. But make sure you visit the financial aid office while you're there. Number 3, you want to bring up the tip sheet?
Okay.
We had the real FAFSA already, so we need the tip sheet.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, Bonnie says, yes, this is like the old FAFSA. Okay. Any more questions? Just put them in the chat and I will address them. Okay, so here's another sheet that you should print. Keep track of your passwords. I mean, you know, nowadays you can lock it in, have it saved, you know, but make sure you write it down the first time. And there it lists all the things that you need: Social Security number, records of child support payments, total amount received for last complete calendar year, bank statements, 529s, list of colleges or schools you're applying to, and a personal email address. So for example, when they say not a school email address, they're talking about Johnny and Jody who go to Upper Dublin. So they don't want it to say john@upperdub.edu. But again, that wouldn't apply to us because we're homeschoolers.
Right. We don't give email addresses to our students.
Right.
Yeah. And this is information about, you know, where you could record your login for your studentaid.gov account.
And there's the information about which year you're applying to college. You can submit the FAFSA from the year and the using tax income and tax information from which year. So it looks like there's almost like a 3-year gap now. I mean, a 2-year gap, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So if you're applying for this school year, this would have been last FAFSA, you would have used 22's income. Does that make sense, everyone? And for the PA grant, with the PHAA website that Susan introduced in the beginning, if your child is going to an out-of-state school, there are certain schools, certain states, which will allow you to take some money. There's a whole reciprocal program. But when my daughter applied to school, if you're in Pennsylvania, she could not take money to New York because that's a border state. So we're like a little circle around Pennsylvania. You can't take our money next door, but maybe you can take our money to Massachusetts. again, log on to the website. Don't assume that you don't qualify for Pennsylvania money if your child is going to an out-of-state school. Look into it first.
Yeah. Right. And again, what Audrey had mentioned before about if your circumstances change, there are ways that you can adjust things.
There you go. Yeah, they call it an appeal. Yep.
Okay, so let me stop sharing this.
And then the next one is scholarship tip sheet. Anyone else have any questions? Ask them now. We're here.
Okay, so this is a tip sheet from FAFS. And again, some of these things we've already talked about, that there are scholarships for all sorts of things. And there is some, like some people say, well, I'm not one person mentioned that their kids happen to be good test takers. And that can definitely get you on the up and up for certain merit scholarships. If you're a good test taker, that would be a hurdle to jump. But there are others that are very interested in, do you sing in your church choir? Do you do community service? Do you do, some sort of a sport, something like that? There are scholarships that are aimed at all types of individuals and all types of strengths, and you can find them. And they mention here, I probably have some links, popular scholarship search sites. Okay, Fast Web, Audrey mentioned before. And these are free scholarship searches. Do not ever pay for a scholarship search. And even though I knew that, I ended up paying for one time because I got a postcard in the mail from my older son saying he was guaranteed to get a scholarship. If he didn't get a scholarship, my money would be returned. And I fell for it. I was so stupid. I was so embarrassed when I realized what I had done. What they mean, if you read the small print on these things, and I did get my money back, was they say you're guaranteed a scholarship or your money is returned. They meant if you can prove by written receipts from every single scholarship we say your child could be eligible for, and you get a rejection letter, then we will return your, I don't know, $300 that I had paid. And the thing is, most scholarships will never send you. If you don't win, you get nothing. You don't get
Exactly.
a letter
Nope.
that says
no
you
letter.
did not win. You just don't win. You never hear from them. And so it's a real scam. And when I looked over the list of scholarships they thought my son should apply for, they were things like making a poster about clean air and water. And I thought my son could have my neck if he found out that I was now requiring him to apply for some of these scholarships that would not at all be his strong suit or that he would want to do. And yeah, I was able to weasel my way out of it, but I felt so stupid. And you should never, ever pay for anybody to do a scholarship search for you, and no one is going to guarantee that you're going to win.
So can I ask any of the parents who already have children in scholarship, anyone, you can just raise your hand, you don't have to say anything, or you can. Did you use any of these websites? Again, I just personal experience being honest, like Susan was just sharing her honesty. I found no help with these at all. But if someone has, please chime in and say, oh yeah, they work for us and we found some. But what I will suggest is that we go back to local and doing what you know best. Like my older and my younger were scientists, so they did science fair. And gave money, like my younger daughter ended up going to national competitions and winning money for science fair. Where does that money go? So it really doesn't become a scholarship. It becomes money that we have in our little bank account to pay for college, because somewhere on one of these handouts it will mention, oftentimes if there's a scholarship that goes from organization X directly to the college and you never see the money, the college will perhaps reduce the amount of grant money they give you because of the outside scholarship. Again, please check. So it doesn't make you, we don't want to make you afraid to apply for outside scholarships, but just be aware that there's a difference between, you know, the NAACP EXO science competition where they hand her a check and we put it in the bank, and I don't know, scholarship X, which is going to send a check to the college. And different colleges will treat it different ways.
Right. And that's
now
a thing too, where parents are going to have to take a major role there to say, this money that you got as a check, we
yes,
are putting in your college fund.
exactly.
And,
Yes.
like, this is not to buy yourself an iPhone.
Right, right. Like, yeah, my middle daughter, when she worked at McDonald's, when I realized that she was buying a little bit more nail polish than she probably needed, it was like, okay, here we go. Like, hand it over, you know. And so, yeah. So Susan, how about the higher education timeline, number 8?
Okay.
Because we're getting it.
Let's hold on.
Any more questions? So someone says, any tangible suggestions on how to search, saying local and ask everyone is not really what I search. Okay, so what are your students' skills? For example, I mentioned my older one and younger one were science majors. So we looked for science fairs. We started with a homeschool science fair. We went to the Greater Philadelphia. And usually once you pass the homeschool science fair, there's some money involved. So that was the local that helped them with science. For my middle daughter who was into art and fashion, it might be, you know, an art competition, or if you have a student that's a writer, a writing as competition, or Rotary has competitions, American Legion has competitions, and American Legion is all over. So look for your American Legion post in your local area. So that will be local. You know, just Google American Legion in my neighborhood. Find the leader. Now, this is the right time to do American Legion, because about now they're looking for applicants for their speech contests and their writing contests. And my son, all my children did it, and they all placed at some level, but every bump up adds a digit. So if you apply to local American Legion, and maybe I can get that to Susan and we can put that as a resource. Have you ever heard of American Legion competitions? Anyone else? Yeah, so the first level might be a $50 check because you're just talking to the local American Legion. So that's local. And if you win, which all my children did win the local, you advance to state. You win state, district. You add a 0. So now you've got a $100 check or a $500 check. And if you win the district, you get to go to state, which I think all 3 of my children went to state. But my son was the one who won second place at state, and he had 4 digits on his check. First digit being a 5.
Oh.
So, and again, that's a check that went straight into his hands. But again,
Right.
all those competitions all the way up. So that's local. So American Legion. I know Rotary has, take this back. I know Rotary had competitions in, between 2011 and 2018. So those are the 2 local events I would look into. Again, but it goes back to timeline and making sure your child has time to plan for these and do. Those are public speaking. If your child's not a public speaker, you want to wipe those out. If your child's not a writer, nope, can't do that. So,
and I do want to say about American.
Anyone else say anything else?
About American Legion, there was a girl that I used to evaluate. She was a FAA graduate, and this was a family with a lot of kids, about 6 kids. So they had to, kind of watch their money for college. And she won the national competition. She was the first place winner. So, she got I think a $25,000 check, and she applied it to college. And, I know that family has been very good with their money and did not want their kids to have any debt going into college. And that was one way they did it. And many of their kids were very, very artistic, which Audrey mentioned about her daughter being artistic. And they would always enter the state fair, the regional, summer fair in their area, and win all sorts of prize money for their artwork. they would be the ones volunteering to paint a mural on the side of a building in Somerset, Pennsylvania, and that sort of thing. And they got known for their artwork regionally, and that really helped them out in many ways. And they got a lot of, every time they'd win, they'd get some commissions from somebody who saw their artwork and said, oh, can you do a portrait of my dog or something like this? You know, they, you know, one thing often leads to another. I'd say one other little thing I wanted to say is, I know a lot of you have large families. You mentioned that. And I think then it becomes even more important that the family kind of helps their kids understand, like, okay, we don't want you to go in debt, and we don't want to go into debt as your parents by borrowing a lot of money, because we've got a whole lot of other younger siblings coming along too. And this is not the way we want to manage our money, and not the way we want you to start your adult life. And that it becomes, you know, really important. If you have one child and you've been managing your finances well, you probably could afford to pay a lot for college, maybe. But if you've got a lot of kids, you have to think even more carefully about it. And one way that people could think about this too, I remember when my kids were going through college, it was a big thing about, oh yeah, you want kids to finish in 4 years. 4 years and they're done. That was great. And all my kids did. They all finished in 4 years, or maybe 4 years in a summer session or something. But they all finished on time. I felt very proud of that. But I just heard something today about, well, what's the big deal? So you take 6 years, but you don't have debt. You know, you spread out your schedule a little bit so that you could work more and earn more money during those college years and come out with very, very little debt. That's going to be much more of a win than I finished in 4 years. So I think that's just another way to think about it. There are also scholarships available for going to trade schools. Again, we don't want to emphasize that everyone should go to a 4-year college, that's the only, you know, viable thing. But, you know, trade schools are going to cost something also. And there are many scholarships. Even the FAFSA will pay for many trade schools, and state grants will help pay for trade schools. And there's special scholarships for kids going into the trades. But there are all different ways to think about this. And the last thing on our handout, number 20, I just added on today. Because I just watched it today, and I would really, I know we're just about the end of our time. It's, many of you probably might be fans of Dave Ramsey financial education things. You know, he's really big into not going into debt. And he produced a documentary film called Borrowed Future. So that's the last thing on this list. Let me just show you that.
While she's looking for that, I wanted to say I put in the American Legion, and I have to apologize because at this point things change. Rotary is not for high school students. Maybe it was back then. For example, the grant that I won in college to go study abroad when I was in school was for college students. Now it's for grad students. So Rotary is not available for high school students right now. Okay, so but Legion is, and now is the time to get involved in that. Because the applications, your local American Legion is going to want your child to, you know, start presenting their speeches to the local group in December. Like what my children did is they presented their speech to the local body, and they got fine-tuned. Well, you should say this and you should say that before they present it for a competition. Okay. The other thing I should mention is, again, well, locals, you know, one person mentioned that their child is doing this and doing that. Keep track of all that. Build a resume. My middle daughter, the fashion designer, did science fairs, but not for, you know, competitive money and getting it and doing it at college. So when she presented her portfolio, you know, she'd been to FIT for a summer, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. She'd been to more College of Art. She'd been to, you know, all the things she had done. So she applied to Albright College, where she went, with an art portfolio. She'd already made a portfolio because many of the other schools she wanted required a portfolio. Well, she already had it. Albright didn't want it, but she used it and ended up getting scholarship money for the arts because of the portfolio she submitted. And I can't remember if we asked, hey, can we submit this anyway? And they were like, oh yeah, sure. And, you know, same thing with my son. Some of the other things that I had already put together, this whole package of what he'd done in high school, courses and everything. And one of the schools like, we don't want that. We were like, we're submitting it anyway. And he got admitted to the honors college, you know. So keep great documentation of what your students are doing in school. And when my daughter went to the awards ceremony for the high school seniors that were being admitted that fall, and they rattled off all the stuff she had done, when she got to college, she was like, I did way more in high school, Mom, than most of these girls will even do in college, or that she felt she had did in college. Because once you get to college, you're doing the schoolwork and the book work and this and that. And she just felt like her high school, just, you know, education, she had so much more to offer in her admission package.
Mhm. Yeah, and you can always show more than what they require, and that can help you out, help you look like a good thing. So this is, can you all see this borrowed?
Yes, borrowed future, yes.
Okay, and I watched it free on Prime Video from Amazon, and it's excellent. It's an hour and a half long. I think it should be mandatory viewing for all parents with their high school students. And it really goes through and follows real people. These are not actors, real people making these decisions. And I think it's very moving and very motivational. I really highly recommend it. So I didn't pay anything to watch it.
The two other things we need to do, I don't know, we're trying to get, it's already 8 o'clock. 9 is a Pennsylvania student aid guide. Maybe you could bring that up. And then the net price calculator, that'll help us back up what we're saying about 18. Each college has a website. It's required now that they have on their website how much it's going to cost for you to go here. So you have to plug in some numbers of your income. You know, it's almost like standing at ShopRite. Well, here's my list. You know, can I afford to shop at ShopRite? Or can I afford to shop at Whole Foods? Or can I afford to shop at Giant? You know, before you get in the door. And there's a net price calculator that's general. And then we showed you University of Pittsburgh's. So this is off of, I believe, College Board. Yes. So it has a whole bunch of colleges. Maybe not every college you're applying to, but maybe you could hit just one of them, Susan. Will it open up for you?
Let's just,
how
about Drexel, since that's
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so welcome. And then it asks for some data. It's not an application for financial aid. They're not guaranteeing you anything. They're just giving you an idea of what their package could look like. So get started. How far will it let us go? So you have to add all these pieces of data. And this is what they're going to ask for: dependency status, parent household, parent income, parent assets, student finances, and Drexel questions. And then your results. Okay. So that should be something for this, those of you that have seniors, that you can go to every single college. Again, has anyone done that yet? Yes, no, maybe so.
Emily didn't know it existed.
Didn't know it existed. Yeah, there you go. And then the Pennsylvania Student Aid Guide, Susan, we could open that lastly. And that's a booklet, which again, you can just read online or print if you so desire. Yeah, I think you can read it online. Technology lets you flip.
Yeah.
So here it is loading. Does that answer the student's question, the mom's question about local? Does that help you? I know I only gave one, but that's the idea of who. This gentleman was the brother of a woman who I went to church with. And she probably approached me first and said, oh, my brother said, you know, and that's the who I know. And then my daughter with her fashions, that was what she knew. She knew fashion, and so she made her portfolio for the schools that wanted it. And then she used it for the school that didn't, and that they gave her money for it. An arts scholarship. Okay, so this gives a whole timeline of how to apply for the different things that we've been talking about.
This is 36 pages long.
Right.
So you can either look at it right online, very handy, and it has lots of links, but you could also print it out.
Any more questions? Let's see. Tim had the high school junior. Michael's looking for new information. Michael, do you think you gained any new information? Is Michael still here? And did you gain anything new, Michael, or are you like, I know all that already?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this was the same. I was unfamiliar with the CSS and
Okay. So that's your new,
several
okay.
resources
Okay.
for interesting. I'll be searching.
How about Nancy? Did you feel you have any more headway on setting up a timeline? I think that's what I wrote down for you, a timeline for your school subjects. Nancy, how do you feel now? I'm inspired to get started, she says. Great. And then how about Liza? You said your son did get his merit package already, and you're obviously happy with it. Liza, still
Yeah,
here? Yes.
yes, it's,
Okay.
I'm happy with it, and this will help us figure out, get started on the rest.
Okay. And then how about Jennifer? You have a 10th grader? No, you have a senior. You have a high school senior and a 10th grader. How do you feel,
Yeah,
Jennifer?
it's no, I learned a lot. So I did have one question. Not that we're going the conservatory route, but I
Oh,
have
yeah.
does the FAFSA fly? Do you get that kind of funding for school like that?
I would think it would. I would think it would.
We haven't looked into it, and we're not even sure. We're just tossing it all around.
Mhm.
And then I would imagine, like my son, he was a science major, but he also played an instrument. And so there was one school that, was like, well, getting part of 2 departments. They were like, yeah, so, use your skills to maybe apply to a general school to their music department. Again, if he's conservatory material, I'm not stopping you, but, like keep all your options open. There was one parent, I'll say real quick, who talked about, Nancy. She said college. Okay, no, that wasn't Nancy. Naima Kramer. Is Kramer still here? Yes. You mentioned the colleges. You say yes, I'm on my 4th college potential. I wasn't quite sure of that. Are you just applying to like one college at a time? Like what did that mean?
No, see, I have a 27-year-old that graduated. I have a 24-year-old that graduated from college.
This is your 4th child now. Okay.
Yes. So my first child, she wants to go to Temple, but we did the compass thing. But I don't know why, but it kind of messed up. So when we went back in, it says that she doesn't have an application, but she does. And so it's just messing everything up. And now I have to reapply through the campus thing, Common App, I think.
Common App, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's unfortunate because of the fact that she had that portfolio. Like I started listing stuff that she was involved in, and I was like, oh wow, you did a lot, But now I have to do it all over again, which was kind of discouraging, trying to get an early action.
Okay.
Financial aid thing is so she's going to school, and then right after her, I think I have an 11th. Well, she's 10th grade now, but she's going to be 11th grade next year. So I was feeling you on that whole your younger siblings trying to make it the debt thing, trying to avoid the debt thing because the one that's in college goes to more, and it's so expensive. I think this is the most expensive school that any of my children have went through, and my daughter, she got all her debts forgiven with the AI, the Art Institute of Philadelphia. So all forgiven. That was a blessing from God.
Yes.
So she's debt free. But my son Drexel, it was expensive, so he's like half debt free because he transferred from AI to Drexel.
Okay.
Anyway, I did want to ask about the community college thing because I came in on the tail end of how that would make things cheaper because I was under the assumption that it would suck up 2 years of your tuition, and so if you went to a school which we found was difficult with the transfer, the credits, my son had to do 4 years all over again.
Where did he start?
Even though they gave Art Institute of Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, see, with the
Right.
community college, it's community college of Philadelphia or Montgomery County, but into a feeder program. If you're starting in another school, I can't, I don't know if Susan could, I can't vouch for that. We're just talking about community colleges that have programs established. I'll see if I can bring it up. And their established program can feed you into another school. And yeah, so I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, he made out pretty good. He graduated with honors, so I'm not complaining too much. It's just that he had to go for 6 years instead of 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just a little. Drexel had a really nice program where I think we paid Drexel themselves, not an outside organization. Drexel themselves to get him for an extended grants, and he got really, really good grants. I mean, they paid almost his whole tuition.
Wow.
Until last year. In grants. Like we had to get some loans, some parent loans, but most of that didn't come until the last year.
Well,
And
that's
I forget what that is, but I'm just saying that's available. Drexel's the only place I've known that has done that.
well, that is a good point, that you can still get further scholarships while you're in college. Everything doesn't depend on getting them while you're a high
In
school.
the beginning, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, trickle down. Yeah, because I know, yeah, that, and the mom who mentioned that for her, that's the way I finished. My last year and a half or year or 2 years, I can't remember what it was. I had zero, debt, but scholarships that came in later in my college career. And I still remember standing in the dining room and said, "See there, didn't I tell you Jesus paid it all?"
Amen.
So yeah, it doesn't always have to work that, you get all this money coming in, because that's sometimes when they give you the least amount. And then if you look at the loan that students are allowed, it increases as you get farther along, because they figure, oh, you're not going to have any money, so we'll just make the debt more at the end. So for me to come out of school with no debt at the end, and whatever debt I had was eliminated because I went into special needs, and my debt got wiped out. That was just a blessing. But I put in the link for the CCP student services, the transfer opportunities, dual admissions so grab that for parents who live in Philadelphia. But again, I'm sure Montgomery County has it, Bucks County has it. If you're in the western part of the state, it's not just a Philly thing. It's common.
Right. I wonder if Sarah, who's on screen here, Sarah, do you have any questions or comments or anything you learned tonight? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I was just pleased that you were on screen here.
And Tola, we didn't hear anything from Tola. She came in at the end. Sarah or Tola, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, if you can unmute. There you go.
I learned kind of like how to apply for like scholarships. I think that's what stood out to me, because sometimes I don't really know how to like apply, and I guess that's what stood out. I don't really have any questions.
Okay, we're glad you were here tonight. Thank you. And anyone else have anything to share? The Lytles or? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Tola says thank you for everything. Okay, no comments. She says thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you to everyone who came. And I hope that the handouts are handy. I know we just, had a chance to just glance over them, but I hope they'll be handy to you as a starting place to figuring out how to find out the details of the information that you need and how to get started on this. And remember that it's December 1st is when the FAFSA comes online this year. And so you're not late, you're early. And hopefully this year the FAFSA will go much more smoothly than last year and have no glitches whatsoever. We can all hope. And I hope it's just giving you some ways to think about college and future education and these choices and how to help our kids make responsible choices that are not going to haunt them for the rest of their lives. And because in some ways the college financing can become a bit of a scam of
Yeah.
just like throwing kids into just debt for the next 30, 40 years and really hamper their life choices. And I think if you can see the value of either paying your way by managing your money all along, saving, encouraging your kids to save, encouraging your kids to work and earn money or to earn scholarships, so that they're going to be at least relatively free of debt coming out. I think everyone will feel very grateful in the
Okay, and I guess the thing I wanted to add was, I think I said to Susan, but I forgot to put it on the notes, is think of it, if the college, because rejections are going to come. I think I put this in a comment to you, Susan, I forgot to add it. Rejection will, well, praise God for the students who, get into all the schools. Well, thank you, that's great. But for your other students that don't get into all the schools they apply to, see that as I always, talk to my families and to my children, well, you know what, that's the school's loss, that's the school's loss. It's not they. And when my daughter applied to this one summer program and she didn't get in and they gave her a very unkind comment, someone said, well, why don't you apply to this summer program? And that's where she went. And so it was so that was a perfect fit. So the rejection over here could lead to an open door over here. And that's happened twice to my middle daughter, where she was, rejected by this, and they had a good reason for it too, and she turned around and either applied another year. So don't take no as one school, I'll just mention it. It was Drexel. She didn't get in. And again, we had learned this from when she was applying to summer programs. I was like, you call and find out why, don't take no for an answer. And so we done it with summer programs and it all turned out to our benefit. Either we got into a better program or a different one, or got into the one we applied into the second time around. And the girl at Drexel, I still remember on the phone, told her what to do, X, Y, Z. And she did X, Y, Z and turned around and got an acceptance. She didn't go because I'll just be honest, that was a school that wanted her to borrow $40,000 and Albright was giving her $40,000. So again, just so we're honest, so we all know that everything is not peachy creamy. Drexel and Pratt, I'll just mention the other school, wanted her to borrow what Albright was giving her. And just your students have to know that, don't be like the dad at Jefferson who was, I don't want to say threatening, but bribing his daughter to say, if you stay in Jersey, I'll buy you a car, and she was like, I'm crossing the bridge.
Right. But yeah, and just, I think, we've all been emphasizing, to not allow your kids to get wedded to one particular school. I've got to go.
Don't let them drive the train.
The campus is so beautiful and I just fell in love. I just knew it was the place for me. And it's like, and you're going to pay for this, honey? That the finances are a real thing. And I've known so many students that I've evaluated who did not get into their schools that they wanted to, or they did, but the financial aid was so terrible, they could not go. And they all found other opportunities that were very, very good, where they met their future spouse and they got all sorts of wonderful opportunities. They were great places, but it took a little convincing of the student to realize that this was a good opportunity, that one door was closed, but as Audrey said, another is going to open, and go through that door. That's the one that has your name on it.
And I'll help them prepare for jobs too, because I'm sure many of the adults here at this meeting will find out the jobs still get closed doors. So it's just life.
Yeah.
Just life.
Right.
Well, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, to tailgate off of that, my daughter, when she initially went to AI, she got turned down for the major that she was so in love with. And then, but her portfolio fit a different major more so. And so we redid her portfolio and then she got in that major and she loved it.
There you go.
Got turned down for one major. She went into a different major that actually fit much better.
There you go. So the rejection turned out to be a blessing.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't even know if my son would have gotten to Drexel if he didn't go to AI first.
Wonderful. Yeah. There you go. Baby steps.
Yes. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. And again, we'll put this handout as a link. If you weren't able to copy it, We'll have that up at our website by tomorrow. And thank you all so much. Really appreciated talking to all of you and hearing your thoughts. Okay, we're going to close up now.
Good night.
Good night.